Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Salek. Hello. All right. In class today, we derive the quadratic formula. And just by looking at you and seeing the expression on your faces, it's a bit overwhelming, correct? It's pushing you a little bit beyond where you've been pushed. But remember what I always tell you. Don't listen to anybody that tells you you can't do something. You can. ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 is a quadratic equation, degree 2, so it's quadratic, and it's in standard form. And remember today in class we said a cannot equal 0. The reason is a, b, and c represent not actual real numbers. The reason a cannot equal 0, if a were 0, this whole term would drop out, and then this would no longer be a degree 2 equation. It would be degree 1. So that's why a can't be 0. Okay? Now, we're going to solve this equation by completing the square. Remember the first step I taught you in completing the square. Get your x's on the left-hand side and get your constants on the right-hand side. So we're going to rewrite this equation as ax squared plus bx is equal to the opposite of c. Okay? So let me reiterate step 1. Get your x's on the left, your x terms on the left, your non-x terms on the right. We good with that? Okay. Pretend I can hear you say, yes, I'm good with that. Cool. All right, next step. The leading coefficient, which is the number in front of the x squared, has to be a 1 before I can complete the square. So, this is not a 1, but if I want to make it into a 1, I can divide through by a. Now the reason I can do that safely, remember we can never put 0 in a denominator. That's unacceptable. That's a restricted value. But what did we say about a at the beginning of the problem? A cannot equal 0. So, if I divide everything through by a, and remember this is an equation, what I do to one side I do to the other. If I divide everything through by a, this leading coefficient becomes a 1, so that's x squared. The coefficient in front of the x is the number b over a, and this is equal to the opposite of c over a. Okay, now this is where I'm going to stop the first video. Alright, let me just recant what I've done. ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 is a quadratic equation in standard form. It's got descending power order, it's equal to 0, and actually I'm going to say a can't equal 0, because if it were 0 this term would be gone. I'm actually going to prefer that a is greater than 0, because when I talk about standard form of a quadratic equation, I like for my leading coefficient to be positive. Okay, now the next thing we did is we got the x's on one side and the constants on the other, so we wrote ax squared plus bx is equal to the opposite of c. Okay, we got the x's together and the non-x's. Before I can complete the square, I need to make sure that my leading coefficient is a 1. Well, a is not 1. We're not sure it is. So to make it into a 1, we divide everything through by a. A divided by a becomes a 1, so it's 1x squared. B over a is ba times x, and this is equal to the opposite of c over a. So what we've done so far is we are now what I'm going to say, we are now ready. We are ready to complete the square. You know when you're painting your room at home, if you do it correctly, you don't start off by just slopping on paint. The first thing you do is you put on a nice primer coat. So what we've just done here is we've primed the problem to be able to then continue. Okay, so I've gone a little bit slow on this video, but I want you to be with me, and then I'm going to do the next video. We're going to continue with this. Okay, but absorb this first. All right.